Redeemed one, there is something I need you to understand before you take another step forward in your life. The thing you have been dreading, the weight you have been dragging, the conversation you have been rehearsing in your head about whether I still love you after everything that has happened. That weight is not what I want you to carry. What I want to give you instead is the thing you have been most afraid to receive, not because you fear failure, not because you fear hardship, but because deep inside you, there is a place that does not yet believe you are worthy of something this good. And what I want to give you is not just a blessing. What I want to give you is your life back, not a version of your life that requires you to be different than you are right now. Not a life that begins once you have cleaned yourself up or figured yourself out or finally resolved the thing that has been unresolved for so long. Your life back, starting right here, starting right now. In the middle of the mess, in the middle of the uncertainty, in the middle of all the questions that do not yet have answers, you have been living in the aftermath of choices and seasons and wounds that left their marks. Some of those marks were put there by your own hand. Others were carved into you by people who should have loved you better, by circumstances that felt designed to break you, by losses that came without warning and without apology. And somewhere in the accumulation of all those marks, you began to tell yourself a story. The story was quiet at first, almost reasonable, almost kind in its way, because it was trying to protect you from further hope that might lead to further disappointment. It said, "This is just who you are now. This is what you deserve." People like you do not get fresh starts. People who have failed the way you have failed do not get to stand in the light again. That story grew slowly. You did not notice how large it was getting until it began to feel less like a story and more like a fact, less like something you were telling yourself and more like something that had been told to you by reality itself, confirmed by evidence, endorsed by experience. That story is the reason I am speaking to you right now, because that story is a lie. And I will not let that lie continue to shape your life when the truth of who I am and who you are in me is so much larger, so much more real, so much more powerful than any lie your past has constructed around you. Here is the truth that I need you to hear, not as a religious phrase that you file alongside the other encouraging things people have said to you over the years, not as something comfortable to receive in this moment and then leave behind when this moment ends. I need you to hear this as the deepest, most unshakable reality in your entire existence. Here it is. I have not changed my mind about you, not once, not in your worst moment, not in the moment you are most ashamed of, not in the season when you walked away from me and told yourself I would not notice or would not care or had already given up on you and found someone more faithful to invest in. I noticed. I cared. I stayed. I did not stop loving you. Not for a single breath. Not for a single heartbeat. Not in the darkness when you were certain I had gone. Not in the silence when my voice felt completely absent. My love for you is not conditional on your performance, and it is not revoked by your failures. It is not a commodity you earn through right behavior or lose through wrong behavior. It is the foundation under everything. It is underneath you right now, holding you up even when you cannot feel it, even when you do not believe it is there, even when the evidence seems to suggest it was never there at all. The love I have for you is not the kind of love that human beings have for each other. Valuable and real but limited, exhaustible, conditional, capable of running out or walking away. My love is not human love, scaled up to divine proportions. It is categorically different from anything you have experienced in your relationships with people. When someone who loves you reaches the limit of their capacity and cannot continue to give without receiving, that is human love doing what human love does. It has a limit because they have a limit, but there is no limit in me. What I am does not run out. What I give from a supply that does not deplete. And my love for you is one of the things I have been giving without limit, without condition, without the faintest possibility of exhaustion, since before you were born, and extending into every dimension of your existence. Let me be specific about this. My love for you did not begin when you first prayed. It was not activated when you first believed, or first came to me, or first expressed faith, or first did the right thing. My love for you began before your first breath, before the cells that would become you were formed. In the eternal place where I exist outside of time, before time itself began, I knew you, not a generic version of you. You specifically, your voice, your laugh, the way you think, the particular quality of your longing, the specific texture of your fear, the exact nature of your capacity for love, the precise shape of the wound that has been hardest to heal. I knew all of it, and I loved all of it, even before it existed. Even before there was a you to love. The decision to love you was made before any of the circumstances arose that you think should determine whether you deserve to be loved. This means that everything you have done since then, every failure, every wrong turn, every betrayal of what you knew was right, every moment you chose yourself over what I was asking of you, every time you let someone down, every promise you made and could not keep, every hidden thing you are most ashamed of, none of it entered into a calculation that altered the fundamental decision. The decision was made in a place outside of time, and the things that happen inside of time cannot reach back into that place and change what was decided there. You are loved, you were loved, you will continue to be loved, completely, fully, without reservation, without condition. The father in the ancient story did not love his son less when the son walked away with his inheritance and spent it on things that left him empty and ashamed. The inheritance was squandered, the money was gone. The life the son had tried to build outside of his father's house had collapsed completely, leaving him feeding pigs and thinking about the meals the servants in his father's house were eating. From the son's perspective, the story was over. The love was forfeited. The relationship was broken beyond repair by his own choice and his own behavior. He had taken what his father gave him and destroyed it. He had, in the language of his culture, wished his father dead by asking for his inheritance early. He had said, in effect, "The future you represent for me is less valuable than the money you represent for me right now." He had rejected the relationship in favor of the resources, and then he had taken the resources and squandered those too. By every reasonable accounting, the love should have been finished. By every standard of logic and justice and self-preservation, the father should have been done. But the love did not diminish with the distance. It did not shrink with the shame. It did not expire with the money or the dignity or the relationships or the possibilities that the son had thrown away. The love simply waited. And when the son finally turned around, still rehearsing the speech he was going to give, the careful, calibrated speech about being unworthy of son status and asking instead to be treated as a hired servant, the father saw him from a long way off. The father had been watching the road, not as a punishment, standing there with arms crossed waiting to deliver the verdict. The father had been watching the road because watching the road was what love does when the one it loves is away. And when the shape of the sun became recognizable at a distance, The father did not wait. He ran, and that detail, that he ran, is one I want you to sit with for a long time, because powerful people in ancient cultures did not run. Running was beneath them. Running was undignified. It was the behavior of children and servants, not of men of position and authority. For a man of this father's standing to run, to lift his robes and physically run down a public road toward someone who had publicly humiliated him and wasted what he had provided, was itself an act of profound self-giving. He was willing to look foolish. He was willing to set aside his dignity. He was willing to make a spectacle of himself in front of everyone who was watching, because the sight of his child returning was more important to him than any reputation he could maintain by staying composed and still. That is how I feel when you turn back toward me. Not relief that you finally came around, not vindication that my patience was eventually rewarded, not a dignified nod of acknowledgement. I run. All the distance that opened up between us while you were away, I cover it myself. I do not make you walk the whole way back to me from wherever you ended up. I meet you on the road. I cover your distance. I make up for the gap, and I get to you before you have finished the speech you were preparing. I get to you before you have presented your case for being given servant status. I get to you while you are still holding the carefully constructed argument that you do not deserve son status, and I interrupt it with an embrace that makes the argument irrelevant. The robe they put on him, the ring for his finger, the sandals for his feet, the feast prepared. None of those things were the gestures of someone extending servant status to a person who had demonstrated unworthiness. All of those things were the full, unrestrained, overflowing gestures of someone restoring a son to the position that had always been his, not a reduced position, not a probationary position, not a position contingent on future performance, the full position, son, heir, beloved, fully restored, fully reinstated, as though the departure had never happened. Not because the departure is being denied or minimized, but because the love that was present before the departure is also present after it, and that love is large than what happened in between. That is the love I have for you, and I am asking you, right now, to receive it, not to think about it, not to evaluate whether you deserve it, not to prepare a reasonable argument for why you should be grateful, but also appropriately humbled. To receive it. Open your hands and receive it. Open the part of your heart that has been closed against it. Closed because receiving it feels too good, and you have learned to be suspicious of things that feel too good. And let it in. All the way in, not just the words of it, the reality of it. Let it go down into the place where the lie about your unworthiness has been living. And let it displace the lie the way light displaces darkness. Not by fighting the lie, not by arguing against the lie, simply by being there, fully present, fully real, and leaving no room for the lie to occupy. Now let me talk to you about forgiveness, because forgiveness is the first doorway into everything else I want to give you. And many people stand just outside that doorway for a long time. Not because they have not heard that they are forgiven, they have heard it. Not because they do not believe in principle that forgiveness is available, they believe it in principle, but they have not walked through the doorway into the actual experience of being forgiven, because walking through that doorway requires them to fully let go of something they have been gripping very tightly. The belief that they should be penalized for what they did. Not penalized by me. They know intellectually that I have forgiven them, but penalized by themselves. Kept in a self-imposed punishment that feels appropriate, feels deserved, feels like the least they can do, given what they have done. I want to say something about that self-imposed punishment that you may not have heard before. It is not humility. It feels like humility. It presents itself as humility, but it is actually a subtle form of pride. Here is why. When I forgive a debt, the debt is gone. When I declare a person clean, they are clean. When I say the record is cleared, the record is cleared. If you come along after I have done all of that and say, I know you cleared the record, but I am going to maintain my own internal record of my failures and continue to punish myself according to that record, you are implying that your record is more accurate than mine, that your judgment of what you deserve is more trustworthy than my judgment of what you deserve, that your assessment of the debt should be maintained alongside my assessment, even though my assessment cancels yours. That is not humility. That is putting your perception above my declaration, and my declaration is the one that governs reality. When I say you are forgiven, you are forgiven. When I say you are clean, you are clean. When I say the debt is paid, the debt is paid. You do not need to add your own payment to mine. You do not need to supplement my grace with your suffering. My work is complete. My forgiveness is complete. And the only thing that the ongoing self-punishment accomplishes is the keeping open of a wound that I have already healed, the maintaining of a scar that I have already addressed, the living inside a cell that I have already unlocked and whose door I am holding open while inviting you to walk out. Walk out. The door is open. The debt is paid. The record is clean. You are not on probation. You are not conditionally reinstated pending further review. You are fully restored. You are fully loved. You are fully forgiven. And the appropriate response to that is not to stand outside the door of forgiveness indefinitely, examining whether you deserve to walk through it. The appropriate response is to walk through it and then to live from the other side of it. To make your decisions from the side of forgiveness rather than from the side of guilt. To relate to me from the position of a beloved child rather than from the position of someone who is perpetually in debt. To approach your life with the energy of someone who has been set free rather than with the exhaustion of someone who is still serving a sentence. Let me speak to what comes after forgiveness, because forgiveness is only the beginning of what I have for you. Some people understand this and still get stuck, not in guilt exactly, but in smallness. They have received forgiveness and they are genuinely grateful for it, but they are living out the gratitude in a small, cautious, apologetic way, as though the forgiven life is a life lived quietly in a corner, not taking up too much space, not asking for too much, not hoping for too much, because even though the debt is paid, it still does not feel right to want big things or expect great things or believe that full flourishing is genuinely available. The gratitude has become its own kind of limitation, forgiven and small, grateful and cautious, healed and still hiding. That is not the life I redeemed you into. Forgiveness was not the destination. Forgiveness was the entry point. The destination is a life of full flourishing, of genuine joy, real abundance, deep purpose, loving relationships, meaningful work, a settled and secure sense of who you are and whose you are that does not collapse when circumstances become difficult. The destination is a life so full and so grounded and so marked by my presence that the people around you can see something in you that they cannot fully explain and that draws them toward the source of it. The destination is not small. It was never small. And receiving forgiveness does not mean accepting a small life as the appropriate punishment. It means accepting the full inheritance of sonship, of daughterhood, of belonging completely to the one who owns everything and has chosen to share it with you. Let me speak to you about restoration. Restoration is a different work from forgiveness. Forgiveness deals with your past, with what happened, with what was owed. with what needed to be cleared. Restoration deals with your present and your future, with what was damaged, with what was lost, with what needs to be rebuilt and recovered and returned to you so that your actual daily life can reflect the truth of who you are in me. Forgiveness happens in a moment. Restoration is a process, and I am in the process of restoring you right now, in ways you can see and in ways you cannot yet see, in the visible dimensions of your life and in the hidden dimensions, in the practical circumstances and in the interior landscape of your heart and mind and soul. What does restoration look like? It looks different in every life, because what was damaged and what was lost is different for every person. For some people, restoration is primarily the restoration of hope, the capacity to believe that good things can happen, which was damaged by repeated disappointment and needs to be carefully rebuilt. For some people, restoration is primarily the restoration of identity, the recovery of a sense of self that was dismantled by years of being told, by others or by themselves, that they were less than they are. For some people, restoration is the restoration of specific things, a relationship that broke, a dream that was abandoned, a capability that was buried under shame and needs to be excavated and brought back into the light. For you, it may be several of these things at once. And I am working on all of them simultaneously. Restoration does not always announce itself. It rarely arrives in a single dramatic moment of visible change. It tends to work slowly, from the inside out, from the deep places toward the surface. A morning when the weight on your chest is slightly lighter than it was the day before. A moment in a conversation when something opens inside you that has been sealed for a long time. A thought that crosses your mind, unexpected and gentle, that says, maybe something can be different. A small but genuine willingness to hope about something you had completely surrendered hope about. Those are restoration. Those are the early signs of deep work that will eventually become visible in your circumstances, your relationships, your sense of self, your capacity to receive and give love. I am working in you right now in ways you cannot fully see or measure. The deepest work I do is always foundational before it is visible. The roots go deep before the tree reaches high. The foundation is complete before the building rises, and the inner healing is thorough before the outer circumstances change. This is not a delay. This is the sequence of how deep and lasting change works. I am not making surface-level adjustments in your life and calling it restoration. I am rebuilding from the ground up, and that kind of rebuilding takes the time it takes. But what is being built will stand. What is being produced in you through this process will last. The growth will be genuine. The healing will be real. The change will not be a performance that collapses under pressure, but a genuine transformation that holds when everything around it shakes. Your pain was not pointless. The hard seasons were not wasted. The things that broke you did not break you beyond repair. They revealed something in you. Not the weakness you think they revealed. They revealed endurance. The kind of endurance that does not come from not feeling pain, but from continuing to move through pain when stopping would have been so much easier. They revealed a capacity for faith that bends but does not break. They revealed love in you that kept reaching even when it kept getting hurt. They revealed a stubbornness toward hope that is, in the deepest sense, the evidence of my hand on your life. Because that stubbornness, that small, persistent flame that refuses to be extinguished, no matter how much wind blows against it, that is what I placed in you. That is the part of you that reflects my nature, and it has been working in you through every hard season, keeping you alive in a way that is deeper than physical survival. Your scars do not mark you as someone who could not handle what came. Your scars mark you as someone who handled what came without it, ultimately destroying them. And I do not want you to hide those scars. I do not want you to cover them up or pretend they are not there, or act as though your history is something to be ashamed of, rather than a testimony to be offered. The most broken parts of your story are often the parts that will reach the most broken people. The places where you are most reluctant to be honest about what happened are often the places where your honesty will do the most good. Not because I want you to perform your pain for public consumption, but because the authenticity of a person who has gone through something difficult and come out on the other side with their faith intact is one of the most powerful things in the world. And that is what you are becoming. Someone whose story carries weight, someone whose words carry credibility, someone whose presence carries the fragrance of someone who has been in the depths and has been brought up. I want to speak to the fear that lives underneath your hope, the fear that is always there when hope is present, keeping hope at arm's length, making sure hope does not get too big or too specific or too dependent on outcomes, because if hope gets too big and then comes to nothing, the damage will be worse than if you never hoped at all. That fear is not irrational. It was built from real experiences of hoping for things that did not come, real experiences of praying for things that were not answered in the way you prayed for them, real experiences of believing for things that, in the end, did not materialize the way you believed they would, and the mind, being protective, built a system to limit future exposure to that kind of pain. The system says, keep hope small, keep expectations modest, keep the distance between what you want and what you allow yourself to believe for wide enough that if the gap is not closed, it will not devastate you. I understand that system, but I want to invite you to dismantle it, not recklessly, not by ignoring the legitimate lessons your experiences have taught you, but by recognizing that the system was built to protect you from pain and instead has been keeping you from fullness. Because the fullness I have for you cannot be received by a heart that has been trained to stay in protective smallness. It can only be received by a heart that has been opened, not naively, not without wisdom, but genuinely opened. And opening your heart requires a degree of courage, the courage to want things again, the courage to hope for things again, the courage to believe that the God who has been with you through everything you have been through is also working on your behalf towards something that you cannot yet see. I am asking for that courage from you, not all at once, not a dramatic, immediate dismantling of every protective wall you have built, but a beginning, a small opening, a willingness to say, I am going to allow myself to hope for this one thing. I am going to carry this one expectation without immediately suppressing it. I am going to let myself want this without immediately preparing for the disappointment of not getting it. That beginning is enough. I can work with that. Start there. Open that small door and watch what I do with the space you make. Let me talk to you about your purpose, your specific, individual, irreplaceable purpose. The thing you are here to do and to be that no one else in the history of the world has ever been positioned to do and to be in exactly the way you are positioned to do it. Every life I create is a stone dropped into water. The stone does not see the ripples it creates. The stone only experiences the impact of entering the water, but the ripples go out, further than the stone can see, further than the stone will ever know on this side of eternity. You have created ripples in the lives of people you do not even know about. Words you spoke, kindness you showed, presence you offered, courage you demonstrated in hard moments. Those things have rippled out into the lives of people who were watching, even when you did not know you were being watched. Those ripples are still moving, and the ripples ahead of you are not fewer or smaller than the ones behind you. The work ahead is not smaller than the work behind. If anything, the work ahead is larger because the person who does it is more refined, more seasoned, more capable than the person who did the earlier work. The hard seasons you have been through have not diminished your capacity for impact. They have increased it, because capacity for genuine compassion comes from having experienced genuine suffering. Capacity to reach people in pain comes from having been in pain and having found what actually helps and what does not. Capacity to speak with authority about the faithfulness of someone who carries you through darkness comes from having been in darkness and having been carried. You are not used up. You are not past your prime. You are not at the end of what you have to offer the world. You are approaching a season of increased fruitfulness that requires the depth of character that only these hard seasons could have produced, and I intend to use you, not in spite of what you have been through, but through what you have been through. The very things you are most reluctant to talk about are often the things that will give your voice the most power in the lives of others, because the people who need what you have to offer are not looking for someone who has never struggled. They are looking for someone who has struggled and has something real to say about how to survive it and what is on the other side of it. I want to speak to the relationships in your life, because relationships are where so much of what I want to restore in you will be restored, and they are also where some of the deepest damage was done. The people who were supposed to love you and did not do it well. The people who were supposed to be safe and turned out to be dangerous. The people who made promises and did not keep them. The people who left when staying was what you needed. Those experiences have shaped how you relate now. They've installed a set of protective protocols, the cautious assessment, the slow trust, the held-back piece of yourself that never quite makes it all the way into any relationship because making it all the way in feels too risky. Those protocols made sense. They were adaptive responses to real experiences, but they are not permanent requirements. They are not the final word on how your relational life will look. I am healing your capacity for trust. Slowly, carefully, in the way that genuine healing works, not by forcing open what has been closed, but by creating the conditions in which what has been closed can gradually, safely open. I am bringing people into your life who are capable of holding what you offer them. I am cultivating in you a discernment that helps you distinguish between those who are safe to open up to and those who are not. I am not asking you to abandon the wisdom your experiences have given you, but I am asking you to let that wisdom be wisdom rather than a prison. Wisdom says, be careful about who you trust. It does not say, trust no one ever again. Trust again, carefully, at the pace that feels genuinely safe rather than the pace that feels necessary for protection. And watch what I do in the relationships that are available to you when you begin to open up. I am not finished with your relational life. The connections that are still ahead of you will surprise you with their quality, with the ease of them, with how much you will feel genuinely known and genuinely valued, without having to perform or present a version of yourself that is more acceptable than the real you. There are people in your future who will see you, the real you, including the complicated parts and the imperfect parts and the still in process parts, and will choose to love what they see. Not in spite of all of it, but because of all of it, because the totality of who you are is genuinely lovable, including the parts that have not yet been fully healed. Those connections are real. They are in your future, and I am preparing both you and them for the moment when they arrive. There is one more thing I want to say to you before I close, and it is this. I see the weariness, not just the spiritual weariness. The physical and emotional exhaustion that comes from trying to carry too much for too long while not being entirely sure whether any of it is working. The kind of tired that a night's sleep does not fix. The kind of depleted that goes down to the bone, to the place where you are not sure what you have left to give because you have been giving from reserves for longer than you can track. I see that weariness. I am not asking you to manufacture energy you do not have. I am not asking you to perform a vitality that does not match your current experience. What I am asking is this: let me carry some of what you are carrying. Let the burden be shared. Let the weight distribute between your shoulders and mine. You were never designed to carry all of this by yourself. The carrying was never meant to be entirely yours. Come to me with the weight, and let me take the portion that belongs to me and leave you with only what is actually yours to carry. When you do that, something happens. Not always immediately, not always dramatically, but something shifts. The weight that felt crushing becomes bearable. The path that felt impossible becomes possible, one step at a time. The future that felt like an unclimbable wall begins to look like a series of steps that can be climbed. Not because the circumstances changed, but because you are no longer climbing alone. You are climbing with one who has already been to the top and back down and who knows every step of the way. That is what I offer you, not the removal of the climb, the company for the climb, the strength for the climb, the wisdom for each step of the climb, and the guarantee that the top exists and that you will reach it. You are my redeemed child. You belong to me. That is not a religious formula. It is the deepest reality of your existence. And because you belong to me, everything that is mine is available to you. My strength for your weakness, my clarity for your confusion, my peace for your anxiety, my wisdom for your uncertainty, my joy for your sorrow, my presence for your loneliness. All of it, at all times, in all circumstances, without exception and without condition. That is your life. That is what I paid everything to give you. And I am giving it to you right now, fully, freely, with joy, with the same joy that made the Father run down the road, with the same joy that clothed the Son and put the ring on his finger and called for the feast. That joy is real, and it is pointed at you. Come home. You are already here. You are already seen. You are already loved. Now let that truth go all the way down into the deepest parts of you and take up permanent residence there. Let it root. Let it grow. Let it change the way you see yourself, the way you treat yourself, the way you approach each day. Let it make you kinder to yourself in the hard moments. Let it make you more patient with your own process. Let it make you more generous, more open, more willing to receive the good things I keep putting in your path. Let it make you someone who has finally stopped running from the love that has been chasing them and has turned around to accept it fully, completely, and without reservation. That is the life I am offering you. Not a life without difficulty, not a life without challenge, but a life that is profoundly, fundamentally, unshakably held. A life where no matter what comes, you know where you stand. You stand in my love. You stand under my care. You stand in a belonging that is older than your name and stronger than anything that has ever tried to take you down. That is your life. That is your inheritance. That is what I paid everything to give you. And I am giving it to you now, freely, completely, with joy. Let me speak now to the part of you that has almost stopped wanting things. The part that has learned, through repeated cycles of wanting and not receiving, that wanting itself is dangerous. That desire is the thing that makes disappointment possible, and if desire is reduced far enough, the disappointment has nothing to attach to. You learned this the hard way. You wanted things, and they didn't come. You asked for things, and the answer was not yes. You believed for things, and the believing did not produce the thing you believed for, at least not in the form or the timeline you needed it in. And so the self-protective mind made a calculation. If you do not want things too specifically, if you do not hope for things too concretely, if you do not let desire become too vivid and too particular, then when the thing does not come, the impact is manageable. The grief is contained. The disappointment has less surface area. You survive it more intact. That calculation was reasonable. It was your mind doing what minds do, which is protect you from pain. But the cost of it has been significant because the life it produces is a life that is perpetually behind glass, present in it, but not fully inside it, watching your own experience from a slight remove rather than inhabiting it completely. A life where the good things that do arrive are received with a certain reservation, because receiving them fully would require lowering the guard that has been keeping you safe. A life where genuine hope feels reckless and genuine desire feels like exposure. A life that is, in a very real sense, muted. The colors still there but turned down. The music still playing but at a volume that requires effort to hear. The possibilities present but viewed from a distance rather than reached for with open hands. That is not the life I want for you. I want a life at full volume. A life where desire is not the enemy but the evidence of something I placed in you. The capacity to long for more, to reach for better, to lean toward what is not yet present and feel the pull of it. That capacity is good. It was not an accident of your nature or a flaw in your design. I put it there. The longings you carry are not random or arbitrary. They are directional. They are pointing toward things that are genuinely available, toward a future that is genuinely approaching, toward a fulfillment that is genuinely in process. The longing itself is a kind of knowledge, a knowing that something more is possible, that what is not yet present is real, that the gap between where you are and where you're meant to be is a gap that can be closed. I gave you that knowing. I give it to everyone I love, and I would not give you the knowing without intending to provide the thing the knowing is pointing toward. So let yourself want things again, specific things, the relationship that has been absent or broken, the healing that hasn't yet been complete, the provision that has not yet arrived, the door that has remained closed while you have been standing in front of it for so long, the dream you covered up because carrying it unveiled was too painful. Take the covering off. Bring the specific desire back into the conversation between us, not as a demand, not as a transaction, but as the honest expression of what you are reaching for, given to the one who put the reaching in you in the first place, and who knows, better than you do, what the reaching is actually pointing toward. I want to talk to you about the weight you carry for other people, the worry about the people you love. The parent who is concerned about a child and cannot stop the mental calculation of all the ways things could go wrong. The child who is worried about a parent whose health is declining. The spouse who lies awake at night rehearsing scenarios about their partner's situation. The friend who has been watching someone they love make choices that are leading somewhere dangerous and cannot find a way to intervene effectively. The person who has been praying for someone's healing or protection or return for so long that the prayer has become as much grief as hope. That weight is real. The love behind it is real. And I want to acknowledge both the love and the weight without dismissing either. The love that makes you carry concern for another person is genuinely beautiful. It is the evidence that you have the capacity to extend yourself beyond your own concerns, to feel someone else's situation in a way that touches you, to care about another person's well-being so much that it costs you something. That capacity is a gift, not a burden, even when it feels like one. The caring that makes you carry others is part of what makes you the particular kind of person that you are. But there is a version of caring for others that is actually helpful to them, and a version that is not. The version that is helpful is the version that prays for them, that is present with them, that offers what it has to offer, and that then releases the outcome to me. The version that is not helpful is the version that carries the full weight of responsibility for their outcome, that manages their situation internally as though worry has the power to change their trajectory, that holds so tightly to the concern that it becomes indistinguishable from control. My hands are large enough to hold the people you love. My love for them is not less than yours. When you release them to me, you are not abandoning them. You are placing them in the care of the one who has more access to their situation than you do, and more power to bring about what they actually need than either you or they currently have. And in the space that release creates, something happens to you. The weight that was crushing becomes bearable. The anxiety that was constant becomes intermittent. The peace I have been trying to give you for a long time finally has room to settle, because there is no longer a grip that is refusing to open. Open your grip. Let the people you love be held by me. Trust me with them the way you are learning to trust me with yourself. Let me speak to you about the specific nature of my relationship with you, not the generic relationship between God and humanity. The particular, specific, intimate, irreplaceable relationship between me and you. The one that has its own history, its own texture, its own moments of closeness and distance and return and deepening. You are not interchangeable with anyone else. There is no one else in the history of creation who occupies the exact place in my heart that you occupy. No one else's voice sounds to me the way yours does. No one else's laughter or grief or uncertainty or reaching has the exact quality that yours has. You are not a member of a category. You are a person, a specific, unrepeatable, beloved person. And I relate to you as that person, with full knowledge of everything that has shaped you and everything that is still being shaped in you. This means that what I have prepared for you is prepared specifically for you, not a variation of what I prepared for someone else, not something assembled from standard components and assigned to your case. Something that fits the particular shape of your need, the particular texture of your history, the particular quality of your capacity and your longing. Something that takes into account every nuance of who you are and what you have been through and where you are going. I am not working with a template. I am working with you, and when the result arrives, you will recognize it as yours, recognizably fitted to you. Recognizably, the answer to what you specifically needed in the way only you specifically needed it. Be exactly who you are in my presence, not the version of yourself you think I want. Not the version that has minimized its failures and amplified its strengths. The actual version, the whole, complicated, still in process, beautiful and broken version that you actually are. There is nothing you have concealed from me that I have not already seen. Nothing you have held back that has not already been observed. You have no secrets from me, which means you do not need to maintain any secrets from me. What I see when I see you without curation is not something that disappoints me. What I see is someone I love, still, exactly as they are, without revision required. Come to me as you actually are, and watch what happens in the space of genuine encounter between the real you and the God who knows you and loves you in your reality. Not in the improved reality you are working toward, in the actual reality you are living right now. That is where I am. That is where the encounter happens. That is where the healing begins, not when you are better. Now, here, in exactly this, the journey ahead is not short. I want to be honest with you about that. There are no quick fixes and no shortcuts in the kind of work we are doing together. The restoration of a person is the work of seasons, not moments. The healing of deep places is slow by design, not by delay. The rebuilding of what was damaged takes as long as it takes, and the timeline is determined by the requirements of the work, not by your impatience with the process. But what I can tell you about the journey ahead is this: you will not walk it alone, not for a single step. I will be with you for every step of it, not as a distant presence you have to strain to feel, as a genuine companion. As one who knows the path because he made the path and who can see around the corners you cannot see around, I am with you, always. The journey ahead, taken with me, leads somewhere worth going, and I will be with you when you arrive. You are my redeemed child, not my project, not my assignment, my child. And I do not love children less because they are imperfect or still growing or sometimes difficult or slower to learn certain things than hoped. I love them because they are mine. I love them in the fullness of what they currently are, including all the parts that are still in process, all the things that have not yet arrived, all the capacities that have not yet been fully developed. I love you in exactly that way, fully. In the fullness of who you currently are, including everything that is still becoming, not as a project to be completed, but as a person to be loved. Right now, in this exact state, without waiting for the state to improve, without needing you to be further along before the love is complete. The love is complete right now. It has always been complete, and it always will be. Let that love do what love does. Let it rearrange things inside you. Let it speak differently to the voices that have been speaking lies about your worth. Let it show up in the way you treat yourself when you fail, in the patience you have for your own process, in the willingness to try again after many attempts that did not produce what you hoped. Let it make you more gentle with yourself. Not because you have earned gentleness by any metric of performance, but because you are loved by someone who is infinitely gentle with you and who has placed that gentleness in you as a resource. Draw from it for yourself as generously as you draw from it for others. The love I have for you is the truest thing about your existence, truer than your failures, truer than your fears, truer than the story you have told yourself about your worth and your limits and your future, truer than the evidence that seems to contradict it, truer than the silence that seems to deny it. Underneath every layer of complication, underneath everything that has accumulated over years of living, underneath the story and the weight and the marks and the weariness, this is the foundational reality. You are loved, completely, permanently, without condition, by someone who has the power to act on that love in your life and who intends to do exactly that, every day, in every way, for the rest of your life and into eternity. There is something I want to say about your capacity to give, the capacity to love other people, to be present with them, to offer them the quality of your attention and your care and your time. That capacity has been stretched in this season. You have been giving from a place of depletion for longer than it is healthy to give from that place. The people in your life have needed things, and you have tried to provide them even when your own reserves were low. You have shown up when showing up was costly. You have offered what you had, even when what you had was not much. And the gap between what was asked of you and what you had to give has been a source of its own particular kind of exhaustion. Not the exhaustion of overwork in the ordinary sense, but the exhaustion of trying to be enough for people when you were not sure you were enough for yourself. I see that, and I want to say two things about it. The first is that what you have given in the midst of your own depletion has not been wasted or unnoticed. The showing up when it cost you, the love you extended when you were running low on love for yourself, the presence you offered when presence was the hardest thing to offer, those things mattered. They mattered to the people who received them in ways those people may not have fully expressed. They mattered to me. Every act of genuine love given from a depleted place is seen and honored and held as something valuable, because it is genuinely costly in a way that love given from abundance is not. The second thing I want to say is that I do not want you to continue to give exclusively from depletion. The model I designed was not one where you give and give and give without any return to the source for replenishment. The model I designed was one of sustainable giving, of giving from a place that is being continuously refilled, of offering to others what you are simultaneously receiving from me. The river does not give water from its own store. It gives water that is continuously flowing through it from the source. When the connection to the source is maintained, the giving can continue indefinitely. When the connection to the source is severed, even the most generous river eventually runs dry. Come to the source, not to take and then leave, to stay connected, to maintain the flow, to allow what I am continuously pouring into you to move through you into the lives of others, rather than drawing from a reserve that will eventually empty. That connection is the thing I am always trying to establish with you, not a single encounter and then a long gap. A living, breathing, continuous relationship in which you are always drawing from me and I am always giving to you, and the excess of that giving is what overflows into the lives of everyone around you. That is the sustainable version of the giving life. That is the version I want for you. Let me speak about gratitude, because gratitude is one of the most powerful forces available to you and one of the most consistently underestimated. Not gratitude as performance, not gratitude as the thing you are supposed to say in difficult seasons because it is the right spiritual posture, not gratitude as a discipline you force yourself into because you have been told it changes your brain chemistry. Genuine gratitude, the kind that arises naturally when you stop and actually look at what you have, not at what you do not have, not at the gap between where you are and where you want to be, at what is actually present in your life right now, in its current incomplete and imperfect state. When you genuinely look, really look at what is present, you will find things that have continued to hold even in the hardest seasons, people who have not left, small mercies that have arrived consistently enough to have begun to seem ordinary, the capacity you still have, even diminished from what it was, that is still enough for something. The beauty that has not disappeared from the world, even when it has become harder to see, the evidence of my faithfulness scattered through the record of your life, visible in retrospect even when it was not visible in the moment. When you look at those things and allow yourself to genuinely feel grateful for them, something shifts in you. Not because gratitude is magic, but because gratitude reorients your attention. It points your attention toward what is real and present and good, and in doing so, it begins to loosen the grip that what is absent and hoped for has on your entire emotional landscape. I am not asking you to be grateful for the hard things in a way that minimizes them or pretends they are not hard. I am asking you to be grateful in the hard things, to find, within the reality of what is difficult, the things that are also true alongside the difficulty, the love that has not disappeared, the strength that has not completely failed, the presence of mind that has been there even in the seasons when you could not feel it. Gratitude for those things does not make the hard things less hard, but it makes them less total. It makes the difficulty one element in a larger landscape rather than the entire landscape, and that reorientation matters. It matters to the quality of your daily experience. It matters to your capacity to receive what I am trying to give you. It matters to your ability to believe that good things are still possible in a life where hard things have been happening. Start small if you need to. Start with the smallest genuine thing, the breath in your lungs right now, the fact that you are still here, still conscious, still in the conversation, the single relationship that has endured, the single capacity that has survived. Start with that, and let the gratitude for that small, true thing be as genuine as you can make it. Then look for the next thing, and the next. Not to build a list that will feel complete and impressive, but to practice the habit of looking for what is true and good, because what you practice looking for, you begin to find more of. And I want you to find more of it. There is more of it available to you than you have been seeing. I want to say something about hope that I have not said yet. Hope is not primarily a feeling. This is important because when hope is understood as primarily a feeling, it becomes subject to the fluctuations of the emotional landscape, which means it is only available when conditions are right for it, which means it is absent in exactly the seasons when it is most needed. But hope is not primarily a feeling. Hope is primarily a decision. A decision about what is true and what that truth implies about the future. When you say, I believe that the one who has carried me through everything I have already been through will carry me through what is still ahead, that is a decision. A choice about where to place the orientation of your life. And that decision can be made regardless of how you currently feel, regardless of what the current emotional landscape looks like, regardless of whether the feeling of hope is present or absent. That is why hope does not have to wait for circumstances to improve before it becomes available. Hope is available right now in exactly these circumstances, not because the circumstances warrant optimism, but because the one who holds you is worthy of trust. Choose hope, not as a performance of spiritual correctness, as a genuine, eyes open, fully aware of the difficulty decision to orient your life around what you know to be true about my faithfulness rather than around what you currently see in your circumstances. That decision, made deliberately and maintained consistently, changes things. It changes what you are able to receive. It changes how you engage with each day. It changes the quality of your presence in your own life, and over time, it changes the life itself. The declaration that I want you to carry forward from this moment is simple. Not simple to live from, but simple to state. Here it is. I am held, not by my own strength, not by my own virtue, not by the quality of my faith, which fluctuates, or my obedience, which is imperfect, or my performance, which falls short. I am held by the one whose hold does not depend on any of those things. I am held by love that preceded me and will outlast me and is as complete in this moment as it has ever been, or ever will be. I am held. That is the foundation. Everything else is built on that, and what is built on that foundation does not fall when the storms come. Because the foundation is not the circumstances or the feelings or the outcomes. The foundation is the one who holds me, and the one who holds me does not let go. Live from that. Make your decisions from that foundation. Face your fears from that ground. Engage your days from that place of settled, unshakable, absolutely certain belonging. Not because everything is fine, not because all the questions have been answered, not because the hard things have been resolved, but because underneath all the hard things and all the questions and all the unresolved things, the ground is solid, the ground is there, the ground holds. And that ground is my love for you, which is older than your name and stronger than anything that has ever tried to take you down. Let me speak to you about identity one more time, because identity is the ground from which everything else grows, and I want to make sure what I am saying about it has truly landed. Your identity is not constructed from your accomplishments and your failures. It is not an assessment of your performance averaged across the years of your life. It is not the sum of what people have said about you, positive or negative, accurate or inaccurate. It is not the conclusion you have drawn from the evidence of your experiences. None of those things constitute your identity, though all of them have tried to at various points in your life. Your identity is what I say you are, and what I say you are was settled before you had done a single thing to deserve or disqualify it. You are my child, made in my image, bearing in you the capacity for love and creativity and wisdom and compassion that reflects something of my own nature, carrying in you a dignity that was placed there before any circumstance of your life had a chance to affirm or deny it. That dignity is not contingent. It does not have conditions attached. It does not fluctuate with your behavior or your circumstances or your feelings about yourself on any given day. It is fixed. It is established. It is as true right now as it was the day you were formed, and as it will be on the last day of your life. Living from that identity rather than performing it is one of the great works of your life, because there is a difference between someone who knows they are loved and acts accordingly, and someone who is trying to become lovable through their performance. The first person has rest. The second person has exhaustion. The first person has peace. The second person has anxiety that spikes every time they fall short. The first person has freedom. The second person has a cage made of standards they can never quite meet. I want the first person for you. I want the rest and the peace and the freedom that come from knowing at the foundational level that you are already what you most need to be, which is mine, which is loved, which is held. The work ahead of you is not the work of becoming worthy. You are already worthy, not by your own merit, but by mine, not because of what you have done, but because of what I have done and declared. The work ahead of you is the work of learning to live from that, learning to make decisions from the place of security rather than the place of scarcity, learning to receive love without immediately qualifying it or suspecting it or waiting for it to be retracted, learning to move through failure without catastrophizing it or allowing it to rewrite the story of who you are, learning to inhabit your own life fully rather than watching it from the safe distance of self-protection. That is the work, and I am doing it with you. Every day that you wake up is another opportunity for that work to advance, not dramatically, not by leaps and bounds, usually by small increments. A morning where you are slightly more at peace than the one before. A conversation where you are slightly more present than the last one. A moment of failure where you are slightly more gentle with yourself than you have been before. A moment of receiving something good where you let it in slightly further than usual. Those small increments add up. Over time, those small increments constitute genuine transformation. not the dramatic before and after transformation that looks impressive in a testimony. The quiet, deep, durable transformation of a person who has been changed by sustained encounter with love that did not give up on them. That is what is happening to you. Quietly, in the background of your life, in the spaces between the events and the decisions and the moments of conscious awareness, something is changing. Something has already changed. And something will continue to change, day by day, season by season, until the person you are becoming is fully visible in the life you're living. I am committed to that process. I will not abandon it halfway. I will not grow impatient with the pace of it. I will not decide at some point that you are not worth the investment of continued presence and attention and love. I am in this for the full journey, every step of the full journey. Until the day you arrive at the destination I have had in mind for you since before you were born. And on that day, when you look back at the full arc of everything that brought you to it, you will see what I have always been able to see from here, that nothing was wasted. Not the hard seasons, not the failures, not the long stretches of waiting, not the moments of doubt, not the periods of distance, not even the self-imposed punishments or the protective walls or the muted living. All of it was part of the story. All of it was being used. All of it was contributing in ways you could not see from inside it to the person you are becoming and the life you are moving toward. That is the redemptive nature of what I do. Not redemption as rescue from the past, redemption as transformation of the past into something that serves the future. Nothing in your history has gone to waste. Nothing ever will. There is a question I want to ask you, and I want you to sit with it honestly, without rushing to an answer. The question is this: what would you do differently if you truly believed, not as a concept but as a lived reality, that I am working everything in your life toward good? Not everything is good. I know that. Some of what has happened to you is not good, and I am not asking you to call it good. But what would change in you if you deeply, functionally believed that I am taking even the things that are not good and working them with my own hands towards something that is? Would you be less afraid of the hard things? Would you be less desperate to control the outcomes? Would you be more willing to let things unfold at the pace they need to unfold, rather than forcing them to move at the pace you need them to move? Sit with that question. The gap between your current behavior and the behavior of someone who really believed that is a map of what still needs to be healed in your trust. Because trust is not just a feeling. It is not just the sense that things will work out. Trust is a posture of the whole self toward reality. It is a way of meeting what comes. It is a fundamental orientation toward life that says, the one who made me is good. The one who holds me is strong. The one who loves me is faithful, and therefore I can face what is in front of me without the frenzy of someone who believes they are alone. That posture is what I am building in you. Not by removing the difficulty so that trust becomes easy, but by walking you through the difficulty so that trust becomes deep. Tested trust is the only kind that holds when the real pressure comes. I am building the kind that holds. You have asked me for things that I have not given you yet. I know which ones. I know the ones you have prayed for most persistently, the ones you brought to me with the most urgency, the ones that represent the deepest needs of your heart. And I want to say something about those prayers. Not receiving them yet does not mean they have been denied. The timing of my answers is not random, and it is not indifferent. It is calibrated to something larger than the immediate relief you are seeking. There are things that need to be in place, things in you and things in the situations around you, before the full answer can arrive in a way that will last. I am not withholding the answer to teach you a lesson or to test whether you love me enough to keep asking. I am timing the answer for maximum impact, minimum harm, and lasting fruit. When it comes, it will come right. And you will understand, looking back, why the timing was what it was. The people you love who are far from me are not outside my reach. That prodigal whose absence has broken your heart, whose choices have been painful to watch, whose life seems to be moving further from everything you hoped it would move toward. I see them. I know them better than you do, which means I also know the things in them that your love for them makes it hard for you to see. The longing underneath the resistance, the hunger underneath the performance of not needing, the fear underneath the bravado, the part of them that has not yet been able to accept what they most need to receive. I am working in those places, quietly, without announcement. In the spaces between everything else in their life, I am speaking. In the moments of quiet that come to every person eventually, I am present. Your prayers for them are not lost. They are being held by the one who loves them even more than you do, which is a statement almost too large to receive, but it is true. Do not be discouraged by what you cannot see. The most important things I do are not visible while they are happening. The transformation of a heart, the turning of a life, the healing of a wound that has been there for decades, the preparation of a person for a purpose that is still coming into focus. These are underground processes. They do not produce visible evidence while they are underway. They produce the person who emerges on the other side, changed in ways that cannot be traced to a single identifiable moment, changed in ways that are real and permanent and that form the basis for everything that comes next. You cannot always see what I am doing, but I am always doing something. Nothing in your life, no period of apparent stillness, no season of silence, no stretch of days that looks exactly like the stretch that preceded it. Nothing is outside my active attention. I am always working, always. Let me return to where I began, because the truth I spoke at the start deserves to be heard again at the end. What you asked for has arrived. The answer is here. Not fully visible yet in every dimension, not completely unfolded, not presenting itself in the full form of its completed expression, but here, like the sunrise that is already happening even when the sky has not yet reached its full brightness, like the seed that is germinated even before it is pushed through the surface, like the healing that has begun in the places where it matters most, the deep places, the foundational places, even before the surface. Evidence of the healing has become visible. The answer is here, and it is going to keep coming, keep unfolding, keep increasing in visibility and in fullness until the day when you look at your life and see everything I told you I was going to do and say, "He did it." He did exactly what he said. The one who promised is the one who delivers. I always have been. I always will be. Receive this with both hands open. Receive the healing and the restoration and the provision and the belonging and the purpose and the love, all of it, fully, without qualification or reservation or protective distance. This is my gift to you, not something you earned, not something you deserve in the calculating sense of deserving. Something I chose for you, freely, from the fullness of who I am, because you are mine and I take care of what is mine. You are mine. I take care of you in every way, in every season, in every difficulty and in every joy, for the rest of your life and into eternity. Let me speak to the specific shape of my care for you in the days that are immediately ahead, not in the abstract sense of my general love and commitment to your well-being. in the concrete sense of what you will encounter, how you will navigate it, and what I want you to notice as you move through it, because you are moving into a season that will ask things of you. Not impossible things, but things that will require the resources I have been building in you through this whole season of preparation. The endurance, the deepened faith, the expanded capacity for receiving love and for extending it. The settled sense of identity that does not collapse when circumstances get difficult. Those things will be required, and they will be available, because I do not ask you to navigate what you are not equipped to navigate. I equip you first, and then I walk with you through it. What I want you to notice as you move through the days ahead is this. Look for the moments where my hand is visible, not the dramatic moments necessarily, the small ones. The door that opened when it should have been closed, the conversation that went differently than you expected and left you feeling more whole than you did before it started. The moment of unexpected peace in the middle of a situation that should have produced anxiety. The thought that came to you at exactly the right time with exactly what you needed to hear. The provision that arrived in a form you were not expecting but that met the need more precisely than what you would have asked for. Those are the signatures of my presence in your daily life, and they are more frequent than you have been noticing, because your attention has been trained on what is absent rather than on what is present. Retrain your attention, not by force, not by performing noticefulness, but by developing the genuine habit of looking. At the end of each day, ask yourself, where did I see something today that could only have come from outside of my own resources? Where was there grace that I did not generate? Where was there provision that I did not orchestrate? Where was there clarity or peace or connection that surprised me with its quality? Look for those things. Name them. Let yourself be genuinely grateful for them. Because as you develop the habit of looking for and naming the evidence of my presence in your daily life, you will begin to see more of it. Not because there is more of it than before, but because you have become more skilled at seeing what has always been there. This is how faith grows, not by dramatic supernatural experiences, though those happen, not by sudden revelations that resolve all doubt, though those happen too. Faith grows most consistently and most durably by the repeated practice of noticing my faithfulness in small things and allowing that repeated noticing to build a record. A personal record of, I asked for this and it came. I needed this and it arrived. I faced this and I was not alone in facing it. That record, built carefully over time, is the foundation of a faith that can sustain the seasons when I feel absent. Because when the silence comes and the feelings of my presence are not available, you can return to the record. You can say, I do not feel you here right now, but here is what I know. Here is what I have seen. Here is the evidence of your faithfulness that I have collected, and that evidence does not change when my feelings do. Build the record, collect the evidence, pay attention to my faithfulness in the ordinary, unremarkable daily moments of your life, and let that collection become the foundation you stand on when standing is difficult. This is my promise to you for the season ahead. I will be there, not sometimes, not when the situation warrants my attention, always, in the early part of the day and in the late part. In the moments when you are clear and purposeful, and in the moments when you are confused and uncertain. In the conversations that go well, and in the ones that do not. In the achievements, and in the failures. In the times when you feel close to me, and in the times when you feel far, I will be there. My presence is not intermittent. My love is not seasonal. My commitment to you is not dependent on your consistency toward me, which is genuinely good news, because your consistency toward me has been imperfect and will continue to be imperfect. But my consistency toward you will not be imperfect. It will be complete. It will be total. It will be there every single day of your life, in every single dimension of your experience, without gap or interruption or exception. You are going to be okay, more than okay. You are going to be whole in ways you have not yet experienced. You are going to flourish in ways that will surprise you. You are going to find on the other side of this season that the waiting was not wasted, and the difficulty was not pointless, and the holding on was not in vain. You are going to arrive somewhere that justifies every moment of the journey it took to get there, and I will be standing there when you arrive, just as I have been standing with you through every step of the journey that brought you to it. Amen. If this message has brought light to your heart, share it with someone who needs to hear that their prayers have been received. Leave a comment with the word Amen below to mark this moment of faith. Subscribe and turn on notifications so you never miss a word God has prepared to speak over your life. You are not alone. There is a whole community here choosing to believe, choosing to trust, choosing to receive. Come back every day. I will be here with a new word for you.